Many thanks for joining me on Global News in Zuma, Nigeria. We begin with North Korea deploys military for flood rescue efforts. Maduro declared winner in disputed Venezuela poll. Palestinians flee as Israel advances into Gaza cities. Airlines cancel flights at Lebanon airports amid tensions. And US to revamp Japan forces in historic step amid tensions. North Korea has deployed army helicopters to bring numerous of people stranded in a flood-hit zone to safety. On Monday, reports said leader Kim Jong-un personally guided a military rescue comprising 10 helicopters and naval lifeboats, shaking the hands of pilots one by one. However, Kim also reprimanded officials for the failure to prepare and react to the recent torrential rains despite earlier orders to enhance the country's actions against natural disaster, reports said. Last week, North Korea conducted a crisis response meeting to deliberate strategies to mitigate the effects of natural disasters on agriculture. North Korea has been enduring record-breaking downpours. On one day in July, Kaesong City experienced an unprecedented 463 millimeters, 18.2 inches of rain. It was the highest volume of rainfall recorded in the north in 29 years. South Korea's Meteorological Administration said natural disasters tend to have a greater effect on the isolated and impoverished north due to its weak infrastructure. While deforestation has left the country vulnerable to flooding, it has been working to try to avert floods. The release of water from a dam close to the border recently raised concern in Seoul. In early July, South Korea's Ministry of Environment said North Korea had likely discharged water from the Hongdae Dam near the inter-Korean border without prior notifications, something they have not done in recent years. Ties between the two Koreas are at one of their lowest points in years. Pyongyang unilaterally cut off all formal military and political communication connections with Seoul in 2020 and blew up a disused inter-Korean liaison office on its side of the border. Talking electoral matters, Nicolas Maduro, incumbent, has been declared the winner of Sunday's presidential poll, but the opposition said they were getting ready to dispute the results. Elvis Amosuro, president of the CNE Electoral Authority, said Maduro secured a third six-year term with 51.2% of the vote. Opposition candidate Edmundo Gonzalez Urrutia, who had been leading in opinion polls, got 44.2%. He said the Electoral Authority, which is controlled by his loyalists, did not instantly release the tallies from each of the 30,000 polling stations nationwide. Tallies they gathered from campaign representatives at the centers had shown Gonzalez crushing Maduro, opposition representatives said earlier. In comments shortly after the announcement, Maduro said his re-election was a triumph of peace and stability and repeated his campaign trail claims that the voting system was transparent. Maduro, 61, first won power in 2013 after his mentor, socialist Hugo Chavez, died from cancer. He has been accused of locking up critics and harassing the opposition and has failed to end a years-long economic crunch that has stoked more than 7 million of Venezuela's 30 million citizens to migrate. The opposition campaigned on a pledge to end the economic crisis, and exit polls suggested they stood a strong chance of beating Maduro. Gonzalez replaced popular opposition leader Marina Corina Machado on the ticket after authorities loyal to Maduro excluded her from the race. Machado, who campaigned far and wide for her proxy, had urged voters late on Sunday to keep vigil at their polling stations in the decisive hours of counting amid widespread fears of fraud. She said Gonzalez had won 70% of the vote. Gonzalez, also disputing the official results, told supporters in Caracas the government had violated all rules and norms to an extent that we were denied seeing most of the ballots. Now on Israel-Gaza war, thousands of Palestinians had been forced from their homes as Israeli forces launched a fresh push into densely populated cities in southern and central Gaza. On Sunday, residents said fierce fighting could be heard in eastern areas. In the southern city of Khan Younis, where the Israeli army was operating, the attacks pushed thousands of families to leave their homes and head to overcrowded areas in Al-Mawasi to the east to the west rather, or Dar al-Bala to the north. Military raids had killed 66 Palestinians across the enclave in the past 24 hours as Israeli tanks pushed deeper into the towns of Al-Qarara, Kasufim, Az-Zana and Bani Suhaila in the east of the city, Gaza's health officials said. Over the past few days rather, Israel's military said the strikes in eastern Khan Yunis was in reaction to renewed attacks, including rockets firing from those areas and intended to prevent Hamas from regrouping. It said its forces killed dozens of fighters in the area and destroyed military infrastructure. Meanwhile, in Rafah, close to the border with Egypt, Israeli forces advanced deep into the northern parts of the city, where they have yet to take full control. Palestinians have also been forced to flee in the central Gaza Strip, including the Beirut camp, Nuseirat camp, and the Johor Ad-Dik village, after tanks shelled the area and the army issued new evacuation orders. The United Nations Agency for Palestinian Refugees, UNRWA, said 86% of the Gaza Strip is now under such orders. At least 39,324 people have been killed and 90,830 wounded in Israel's war on Gaza. An estimated 1,139 people were killed in Israel during the Hamas-led attacks on October 7th, and over 200 were taken captive. Still on Gaza-Israel war, flights at Beirut airport have been cancelled or stalled, with Lebanon's Middle East Airlines MEA saying disruptions to its plans were linked to insurance risks as tensions rise between Israel and the armed political group Hezbollah. On Monday, Lufthansa said it had halted 5 routes to and from Beirut by the group's carriers Swiss International Airlines, Eurowings and Lufthansa up to and including July 30th in an abundance of caution. A rocket attack that killed 12 teenagers and children in the Israeli-occupied Golan Heights on Saturday has added to fears that Israel and the Iran-backed group could engage in a full-scale war. Israel's Security Cabinet on Sunday authorized the government to respond to the attack. Hezbollah has denied any responsibility for the attack, the deadliest in Israel or Israeli-annexed territory since Hamas's October 7th assault sparked the war on Gaza, which has since spread to several fronts. Beirut Airport's flight information board and flight tracking website Flightradar24 shows Turkish Airlines also cancelled 2 flights overnight on Sunday. Turkey-based budget carrier Sun Express, Turkish Airlines subsidiary Ajet, Greek carrier Aegean Airlines, Ethiopian Air and MEA have also cancelled flights scheduled to land in Beirut on Monday, Flightradar24 shows. Beirut Rafik Hariri International Airport is Lebanon's only airport. It has been aimed in the country's civil war and former fighting with Israel, including in the last war between Hezbollah and Israel in 2006. On Sunday, MEA said it had delayed the departure of some flights set to land in Beirut overnight. Additional delays to flights landing on Monday were then announced due to technical reasons related to the distribution of insurance risks for aircraft between Lebanon and other destinations, MEA said. Hezbollah and the Israeli military have increased cross-border exchanges of fire since the war in Gaza erupted. The fight has disrupted flights and shipping across the region, including during reciprocal drone and missile attacks between Israel and Iran in April. Lufthansa had already suspended nighttime flights to and from Beirut for July due to current developments in the Middle East. Away from Israel-Gaza conflict, and now Washington and Tokyo said on Sunday the United States will repair its military forces in Japan as the two countries move to strengthen defense cooperation in a sweeping move to modernize their alliance in the face of mounting security threats in Asia. The announcement comes as Japan and the US warily eye a region where China is seen as progressively aggressive in proclaiming its disputed territorial claims, and North Korea continues its illegal weapons program, while both tightens relations with Russia as it wages war in Ukraine. Lloyd Austin, Defense Secretary, U.S. Defense Secretary, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken, and their Japanese counterparts Minoru Kihara and Yoko Kimikawa announced the plan in a joint defense statement following a meeting in Tokyo where they are also called China's political economy and military coercion, the greatest strategic challenge in the Asia-Pacific region and beyond. The step is expected to trigger the ire of Beijing, which has watched warily as the US has boosted relations with regional allies in a part of the world where observers say China seeks to be the dominant power and where it accused the US of fostering a Cold War-style bloc mentality. According to the statement, under the latest plan, US forces in Japan will be reconstituted as a joint force headquarters reporting to the commander of US Indo-Pacific Command to facilitate deeper interoperability and cooperation on joint bilateral operations in peacetime and during contingencies. In a press conference following the meeting, Austin praised the country's move to modernize their alliance command and control as an historic decision. This will be the most significant change to US forces Japan since its creation and one of the strongest improvements in our military ties with Japan in 70 years, Austin said. He pointed both to the upgrade of US forces Japan with expanded missions and operational responsibilities announced on Sunday and Japan's new Joint Operations Command, saying that the countries were reinforcing their combined ability to deter and respond to coercive behavior in the Indo-Pacific and beyond. The announcement follows an April summit in Washington between US President Joe Biden and Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida, where the two vowed to upgrade their respective command and control framework to strengthen deterrence and promote a free and open Indo-Pacific in the face of pressing regional security challenges. On more stories now, two high-profile Sinaloa cartel leaders face trials soon. The striking apprehension of two central figures in the infamous Sinaloa cartel featured dramatic allegations of high-level power tussle, the betrayal of one co-founder by another co-founder's son, and a secret fight ending in American law enforcement's custody. On Thursday, Ismael Elmayo Zambada, the cartel's alleged co-founder, and Joaquin Guzman Lopez, son of former boss Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, were arrested by U.S. authorities in El Paso, Texas. They face several charges for allegedly leading the criminal operations of what is considered to be one of the world's most powerful and deadly drug trafficking operations. Zambada, 76, pleaded not guilty to all charges at his first federal court appearance on Friday morning in El Paso and is being held without bond on 7 federal criminal counts, including continuing criminal enterprise and money laundering. He also agreed to waive his right to personally appear and to ask for bond at a hearing set for July 31st. Typically, I do not comment on my criminal cases, his attorney, Frank Perez, said according to a report. However, I will say that my client did not come to the U.S. voluntarily. On Tuesday, Guzman Lopez, 38, is expected to appear in federal court in Chicago. His attorney, Jeffrey Lichman, said he was formally indicted by a federal grand jury in Illinois on narcotics, money laundering, and firearms charges, according to a statement last year from the U.S. Justice Department. I'm looking forward to seeing Joaquin and working on the case with him, Lichman said in an email, adding he'd appear in court with Guzman Lopez. The cartel, one of the world's most powerful narcotics trafficking organization, is thought to be responsible for the trafficking of vast amounts of cocaine, heroin, methamphetamine, and fentanyl into the United States. U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration Chief Ann Milgram said the arrest strike at the heart of the cartel that is responsible for the majority of drugs, including fentanyl and methamphetamine, killing Americans from coast to coast. Officials said the arrest came after Guzman Lopez duped Zambada and orchestrated their arrest. Zambada thought the two were flying to northern Mexico to look at real estate, but instead their small private plane landed north of the border near El Paso, where U.S. authorities were waiting on the tarmac, officials said. Zambada's attorney offered a different explanation in a phone conversation, and a statement report said on Sunday. Perez said Zambada was kidnapped. Joaquin Guzman Lopez forcibly kidnapped my client. He was ambushed, thrown to the ground, and handcuffed by 6 men in military uniforms. And Joaquin, his legs were tied, and a black bag was placed over his head, Perez said in a statement. Mexico's president has called on the US to explain what exactly happened. Now, Putin's Navy Day speech showcases Russia's naval strength. In St. Petersburg on Sunday, Russian President Vladimir Putin addressed the military naval parade, a yearly celebration commemorating Russia's Navy Day. He expressed gratitude to Navy's crews from allied nations for their participation in the parade and stressed Russia's commitment to enhancing its naval capabilities with advanced modern weaponry. The president of Russia greeted the allied nations by saying, "I am pleased to welcome the crews of warships from Algeria, India, China, along with delegates from various foreign countries who have joined us in commemorating today's special occasion." Putin likened the US plan to deploy long-range missiles in Germany to the Cold War era and stated that Russia would respond with similar actions. He warned that should the United States proceed with such intentions, Russia will no longer adhere to the unilateral moratorium on deploying medium and short-range strike weapons. These includes enhancing the capabilities of their naval coastal forces. The final stages of development for several systems are currently underway. Russia will respond with corresponding measures considering the actions of the United States and its allies in Europe and other global regions. The Russian president hailed the naval crews courageously battling in the Ukraine toward the end of his address. Russian Navy Day is celebrated on the final day of July. Initially founded in 1696, the holiday was abolished in 1980 by the Soviet Union. However, President Putin has reinstated the day through a decree. Russia observes its yearly Navy Day with a significant military parade in St. Petersburg, featuring approximately 200 warships of different classes, as confirmed by the country's defense authorities. Now in African scenes, Mali clashes, Tuareg rebels hit government mercenary forces. Tuareg rebels reported on Saturday in the northern region of Mali that they had killed and injured many government soldiers and Russian Wagner Group mercenaries during a two-day clash near the Algerian border. The Malian military confirmed the deaths of 2 soldiers and injuries to 10 others. The CSP-PSD rebel movement on Saturday declared that they had seized armored vehicles, trucks and tankers during the confrontations in Tinzouten on Thursday and Friday. They also claimed causing damage to a helicopter that crashed in Kidal, located hundreds of kilometers away. The Malian army verified that 2 soldiers were killed and 10 were injured, with a helicopter crashing in Kidal during a routine mission on Friday, resulting in no casualties. Reports from Russian military bloggers showed that an estimated 20 Wagner Group members were killed in an ambush close to the Algerian border. The information provided by the bloggers remains unverifiable independently, despite their assertions. Spokesperson for the pro-independence CSP DPA coalition, Mohammed Al-Maloud Ramadan, stated in a press release that a first 2-day battle occurred near Tizawatin village, resulting in the rebels successfully defeating the Malian army and Russian mercenaries. Ramadan mentioned that the enemy suffered significant casualties in both personnel and equipment, with many dead and injured. He also noted that several Malian soldiers and Wagner Group mercenaries surrendered to the Tuareg fighters. The Tuareg people inhabit the Sahara region, with some residing in northern Mali. They often feel marginalized by the Malian government. Mali, grappling with political turmoil stemming from recent coups, persists in fighting a persistent Islamic rebellion with the support of Russian troops, who are characterized as instructors rather than mercenaries. We take a short break, and when we come back, more stories, particularly from Nigeria. Do stay with us. You're welcome back. Now, stories from Nigeria. Nigerians divided over August 1st protests amid rising tension. Over August 1st protests, Nigeria is faced with divided opinions, with economic hardship fueling debate and tension among leaders and citizens. With just 3 days to the August 1st countrywide protest against hardship and hunger allegedly brought on the country by some of the policies of the present administration of President Bola Tinubu, Nigerians are still broadly divided over the choice of demonstration to register their displeasure with the government. Division among the country's prominent opinion leaders as well as the mass of the people continued to build up since the idea of protest was proposed by some Nigerians and bought into by a majority of the people who feel the pain of the present economic hardship in the country. On Sunday, Inspector General of Police IGP Kayode Egbetokun explained why he asked all groups planning the protest to register and provide requisite information at their respective state police commands before embarking on the protest. Deputy President of the Senate, Senator Barrow Jibrin, also appealed to organizers of the protest to reconsider their decision and abandon the idea so that the fragile peace in the country will not be disrupted. Over the weekend, Kwara State Governor and Chairman of Nigerian Governors Forum NGF, Abdurrahman Abdulrazak, appealed to Nigerians to be patient with Tinubu as he tackles the myriad of challenges facing the country. Ogun State Governor Dakpo Abiodun equally called on Nigerian youth not to let themselves to be used by a movement allegedly sponsored by politicians. However, the presidential candidate of Labour Party LP in last year's general election, Peter Obi, threw his weight behind the protest. Christian Association of Nigeria CAN and National Association of Nigerian Students NANS, however, told Christians and students in Niger State to shun the planned nationwide protest against high cost of living and hunger in the country. The organized civil society said it was alarmed by the blame game and blackmail tactics being deployed by handlers and aides of Tinubu try to twist and intimidate Nigerians out of the impending protest. Instead, they said the presidency should have immediately started to address issues of unbearable economic situation necessitating the planned mass action slated for August 1st to 10th. But the national leadership of Petroleum Tanker Drivers PTD branch of Nigerian Union of Petroleum and Natural Gas Workers NUPENG accused the parent body of being insensitive and opportunistic for using the proposed protest as a buffer to gain a voice publicly after conducting a sham election in flagrant abuse of the guidelines laid down by the National Industrial Court of Nigeria. And finally on the news, NAF destroys 12 illegal refineries in Abia and Rivers States. NAF spokesperson, Air Vice Marshal AVM Edward Wackett, confirmed yesterday that raids by the Nigerian Air Force NAF aircraft have destroyed 12 illegal refining sites and 2 reservoirs in Abia and Rivers States. The airstrikes were carried out over the weekend, the Air Force spokesperson said in a statement. According to AVM Wackett, armed reconnaissance undertaken by the aircraft showed numerous illegal refining sites situated in many fenced households in Mweze, Abia State. He said the information from the armed reconnaissance was subsequently relayed to ground troops for further exploitation and action. AVM said the sighting of illegal refining sites in fenced living environments by oil thieves was indicated of the sophistry of the illegal oil refining trade that will require other means beyond airstrikes to checkmate, adding that those engaged in these acts, especially in fenced living environments, are again reminded of their danger to human lives and health as well as the environment. However, armed reconnaissance missions as well as destruction of illegal refining sites will continue unabated until crude oil theft and other forms of economic sabotage are reduced to the barest minimum. A recap of major stories says North Korea deploys military for flood rescue efforts. Maduro declared winner in disputed Venezuela poll. Palestinians flee as Israel advances into Gaza cities. Airlines cancel flights at Lebanon airports amid tensions, and US to revamp Japan forces in historic step amid tensions. And that's all on the news. Thanks for watching. I am Lois Jiraki. Have a great week ahead.